Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We're Mike and Jacqui, and we just hope you're doing well. It's just this safer at home thing has been a little undefined and a little unclear, and I know that I've been anxious a little bit about how this is supposed to roll out and what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do. And so I watch the news a lot to try to get some direction and clarity, and that causes confusion sometimes. But anyway, earlier this week, I saw a report on the number of people that are calling to start the process of divorce. And starting in March, that number increased from March of last year. And obviously, that's when we started the stay-at-home order. And then in April, it increased even more from there. And then in May, so far, it's up 192% from where it was last year. And I just grieved that, and I've been thinking about that all week, and I've been talking to Mike about it, and it grieves us to hear about people who are giving up and who feel so hopeless, and we don't know if you're in that place or not, but we just want to talk a little bit about that because it's not far for any of us to come to a place in our marriage where we feel just desperate. We feel discouraged. We feel hopeless. We don't know how to unravel this web of stuff that we have between us. It just feels like it's impossible. And sometimes we can even find ourselves in a place where we don't even know if we want to. I know that Mike and I have been in that place in our marriage before, more than once, where it would be so easy to start walking down that road of divorce, where you start thinking, I deserve more. I want more. This is such a mess. I don't know how to overcome this. I don't know that I want to overcome this. I don't know that I want to be with this person anymore. I'm not happy. And so you start down that thought process, and before you know it, that ball can just really get rolling to the point where you're just not even willing to try anymore to make your marriage work. And that's such a dangerous place to be, and it can be really scary. And the world obviously has messages all around us that tell us, you deserve better. You need to be happy. If your marriage isn't fulfilling you, then move on. If your spouse isn't the spouse they're supposed to be and the one that you want to be with, then just move on and look for a different person. There's just so many messages around us that say, when it gets hard, when it's not what you really want, then just move forward. And the reality is that marriage, as we've talked about in our other videos, if you've watched them, it's the relationship that is the most intimate relationship we will ever have. And it is a relationship where God wants to show his glory more than any other relationship, because it is so intimate, and he brings us together, and he wants us to love each other like Christ loved us. And through that love, God is so glorified. But we're broken people. And so along with how glorious a marriage relationship can be, it is also the place where our sin nature gets so pronounced and is so evident, and it is in our face all the time, because our marriage is with us all the time, and we're interacting in our marriage all the time. So it's where that sin nature gets pronounced and highlighted. And I know that word sin might be a buzzword, and it might cause you to kind of curdle. But Mike's going to talk a little bit more about what that is so that we can unpack that and understand what that really means.
The idea of sin it's the idea of imperfection. It's the idea of missing the mark, to not be in a place where we're doing everything right. And as we look at marriage, from the time we're young, we're inundated with this idea of happily ever after, you look at movies and it makes it to the point where everything's good, and that's the expectation. That whether we believe it or not, we talked a few weeks ago about expectations. Whether we believe it or not, we have this expectation that getting married is going to make everything all right. And in order to do that, what it would take is for marriage to make us perfect, which it doesn't. So what you've got is two imperfect people coming in with the idea that the other person will either fix all their problems or their problems will all be fixed. And we get into this reality where we're really close a lot of the time, and we start seeing the flaws, and it's much easier to just see the flaws than it is to see the beauty, the absolute magnificence that God has created in your partner. And so engaging in that and recognizing that, yes, we are two sinful people coming together trying to create a life together, and that means that it's going to be work, and that's a good thing. It shouldn't be easy. The idea that if you find the right person, this will be easy is an absolute lie from the pit of hell. Mm-hmm. There's no truth to it. Marriage is not easy all the time. There are times when marriage is super easy, and those are the times where you can enjoy it. But the reality is, you bring any two lives of imperfect people together, and there are going to be times of hard work. And the hard work doesn't mean you're with the wrong person. The hard work doesn't mean that it's not worth it. Digging in and doing the things that really matter are what make this valuable. And it's so important in these times where so many people are looking to opt out, that we remember that hard times are where we grow. Hard times can really strengthen us, not just us as individuals, but our marriage as well. If it weren't for the struggles that Jacqui and I have had and come through, our marriage wouldn't be as potent and powerful as it is for both of us these days. So we're grateful for the hard times. Not that we would seek them, but we're grateful for them, and we wouldn't change them. And so if you're in that place where you're thinking this shouldn't be this hard, sometimes it is. And if you're thinking if I were with another person, it wouldn't be this hard, that's not necessarily true. The reality is that we're all broken, and we're broken in different ways. Maybe it wouldn't be hard in the same way, but there's going to be difficult times. And again, there's going to be glorious times. And so pushing through those hard times so that we can really experience the joy of marriage, because we've talked a lot about the difficulties that come with marriage, but the reality is that when you push through these, when you lean into one another, when you learn how to serve your spouse and how to let your spouse serve you, it creates an incredible relationship that is remarkably fulfilling. And that's what we're pushing into, and that's what we're pushing in for. We've talked about how God has continued to push into relationship with us even when we didn't deserve it. But when we lean into that, it's a glorious thing, and it's amazing, and He's got so much for us, just like our marriage does. If we can believe that our spouse is for us and that our spouse wants the best for us, then we can actually start to do some amazing work that allows our marriages to grow and flourish and be powerful and potent. And that's ultimately the goal. But if you're sitting in a place where you're struggling and you're thinking that this is just too hard, we strongly encourage you, reach out. Whether it's to us, whether it's to friends that you know have a solid marriage, whether it's to friends that you know will continue to push you to do the things that you need to do regardless of what your spouse is doing, reach out to somebody that's going to say, okay, your marriage is worth fighting for, because it is. And so we hope that in these times that you'll continue to drive towards that and know that on the other side, it can be better than you ever imagined, than you ever dreamed, than your two-dimensional picture was ever painted. It can be so much better. So that's our hope for you, and we hope that you can find that encouragement, find those people that'll jump in this with you and walk alongside it with you. Again, we're always available if you want to reach out to couple support at westwoodcc.org. We'd be happy to respond to the email, and we'd love to talk with you. But if it's not us, just find somebody that's willing to get in there and recognizes the value of your marriage and is willing to fight for it with you.
There's so much freedom in sharing your marriage, letting people get in there. There's also so much freedom when we choose to acknowledge our brokenness and our imperfection, and start working through that to own up to where we're getting in the way of our marriage really flourishing and healing. If your marriage needs healing, let it heal, and give yourself that gift of owning your stuff, which is hard, and it's prickly and it hurts and all of that, but I promise it's worth it. I promise it's worth looking at that stuff. And when Mike was talking about missing the mark, and that's that's really the definition of sin. God is the mark. God and all he designed and all that he is in truth, he is the mark. So get to know God. Dig deep in this case in what he designed marriage to be, how he designed it, and seek to follow that and abide in that, and let him illuminate and melt away the stuff that doesn't belong within your marriage. I promise he will. And like Mike said, it's beautiful and it's amazing and it's better than you could have ever hoped for. And we do want to say that if you're in a relationship that is abusive, please find a safe place to be, and then reach out to somebody who can help you walk through the next steps of that. We in no way intend for anyone to stay in a relationship where you're abused and where you're not safe. So please find a safe place. Email us if you're in that kind of a situation, and we can help you make some next steps. But we're in no way saying you just need to endure that and you just need to stay in that relationship. So anyway, hope you guys have a really great week. It's going to be beautiful and warm, and so just take care of yourselves. Talk soon.
Thanks.